Welcome to episode 50 of The Lowdown Show. I'm Neil Graham. If you're successful enough in life that money is of no concern, well, please exit this podcast. For those of you that remain, this episode is worth your time. The cost of lodging in North America is prohibitively expensive for traveling on a budget. Even campgrounds are getting up there. But Christi Reynolds has started something called the Motorcycle Travel Network, which allows registered motorcyclists to stay at the homes of fellow motorcyclists for the astonishing fee of $20 a night. Intrigued? I should hope so. But first, a word from our sponsor. Picture this, you're halfway through a DIY motorcycle fix, tools scattered everywhere, and boom, you realize you're missing a part. Well, it's okay because you know whatever it is, it's on eBay. They've got everything, brake rotors, lights, and tire exhaust systems, whatever you need. And it's guaranteed to fit, which means no more crossing your fingers and hoping you ordered the right thing. All the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Something that's impinged upon my chosen lifestyle in recent years is the exorbitant cost of lodging. Where I'm north of Toronto, I always used to ride down with the guys. We'd go into Vermont or, through the northeastern states, through New England. And we'd stay in some little, flea bag motel, and it would be $45. And we'd wedge 3 or 4 of us in there. But those days are gone, which makes what you do really interesting to me, and I think to our listeners as well. So tell me what the Motorcycle Travel Network is.
So we are a hosting organization for motorcyclists. We're there. A lot of people don't realize how many of these are out there. But I kind of have to give you a little bit of history, if that's okay. If
you can give us some backstory, sure.
Okay, so I've ridden all my life. Started when I was 19, and my husband also rode. We did a lot of. I was a teacher. We always did our travel in the summertime. He retired, and then the next year I quit teaching, and we took off on our motorcycles for 2 years. Well, the plan was 2 years. We did run out of money, so we only made it about 1.5 years. But hey, we did.
I think most of us can understand that pretty.
Yeah. So, but I was back then. This was like early 2000. So I was an avid budget travel reader, and I read about hosting organizations. And there are a variety of hosting organizations out there. Probably one of the bigger ones still right now is called Evergreen. That's for people over 50. That's their common denominator. And then there are others. There's one for bicyclists called Warm Showers, which I think is a little creepy, but whatever. And I don't know if these.
Sorry, I'm still hung up on Warm Showers.
Warm Showers. I know that's the name of it. And so
I'm sure there's a website for that too.
So, and that's for bicyclists. I mean, I get it. I just think maybe you could have come up with something a little better, but whatever. It's been around for a long time. And there's for Quaker, there's just a bunch of different ones. Well, okay. So we joined a couple of them. There used to be Educators Bed and Breakfast Network for teachers. So we joined a couple of them, took off on our bikes. The first night we stayed with somebody was up in Wisconsin, and we stayed in this. I mean, it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It was very northern Wisconsin, kind of maybe half an hour from Duluth. And we got there and we went out to the barn with this guy to see the horses. And then we slept on a sleep number bed, which back then was wow, this is a sleep number bed. We didn't get much sleep because my husband had to keep changing the numbers. Well, maybe I like this or maybe I like this. And so the next day, the husband fixed us this amazing breakfast. We gave him $20 and he sent us on our way. And we were like, well, that was just the best thing ever. And he was so interesting and talked about the area and the community and all of that. And so we were sort of hooked after that. And we stayed with as many people as we could while we were traveling. Got out to Washington, and one of the organizations, I don't know really how to say it, but they kicked us out and told people that they couldn't host us, which I thought was pretty bold. You can tell people who you can and can't have in your home. I always got the sense it was because we were motorcyclists and they kind of thought of us as like dirty bikers or whatever. So, and I started thinking, well, you know, there's all these other ones. At that time, there was even one for tandem bicyclists. And I thought, like, what, all 12 tandem, like, it's not like you see tandem bicyclists touring a lot. And so I just thought that was really odd. And I was like, why isn't there one for motorcyclists? So we started it. And so basically what it is, all of our members are also the travelers. Everybody that is in the network is a member. They pay a membership fee, and they agree to open their home when and if they can. Nobody is required to host because, you know, it may not be a good time. I mean, it's your, you know, it's your spare room basically. And so you may have company or you may not be there because you're a motorcyclist and you're out traveling or whatever. So everybody has the ability to host, but whether you host is strictly up to you. And if you ever get a request, some people just aren't in places where people travel. And I've actually had people come up to me and say, you know, nobody's come to stay with us. And I'm like, well, I can't force anybody to come and stay with you. It just depends on where you are. And so everybody pays a membership fee, and it's like $35 right now. It's like $35 a year. And they put a profile up, which is private. We have a pin on the map that shows basically, you know, kind of where they are, but not exactly where they are. And then it'll show their listing, and it's pretty comprehensive. It's not Airbnb, but it's pretty comprehensive. We require that they put 4 photos in showing the front of the house, the bedroom, the bathroom, excuse me, and a common area. And then they can add as many other pictures as they want. And you know, people do. So, and then there's like good to know things like we smoke, we don't smoke, you're welcome to smoke, you're not welcome to smoke, we have pets, we don't have pets, all of that kind of stuff. We have a place for them to list amenities like covered parking and just all sorts of other things. And then basically that's it. If somebody's traveling that way, then they can, as a member, they log into to Motorcycle Travel Network. They log in, they search, they find the you know, people that they want to stay with, and then there's a request to stay button, and that immediately goes to the member. And if the member can, they say yay or nay. They can write something back. I'm so sorry, we're not going to be home, or yes, we look forward to seeing you. And then at that point, MTN steps out and it's between the two of them. They then at that point have each other's contact information. We don't make it so that they can see each other's contact information until a request has been accepted.
So it's $20 a night.
Yeah.
Which is exceptionally.
It's a gratuity. We call it a gratuity because it's not Airbnb. They're not renting their room. They're hosting you.
Right.
So it's like friends staying with friends.
And so if I'm traveling, I'm north of Toronto. So if I'm going to go down into Vermont or something, so I just look at your map, I see where I'd like to go, and then I instigate the process through that. I mean, it sounds kind of too good to be true.
Yeah, it's that simple. We didn't used to have it this way. So my husband and I started this back in 2005 when we were actually on that 2-year motorcycle trip. We started it then. It was really growing. It was doing really well. And then I ended up going back to work full time for an exchange student program. And at that point, I kind of handed the reins over to my husband. I was doing most of it. He was sort of the IT person. And so I handed it over to him. He was managing it. I didn't really understand that he was struggling with it because it turns out he had a frontal temporal dementia. My husband passed away a couple of years ago. My son, who is just a whiz, we rebooted it. So we started all over basically from the ground up.
Let's stretch our legs and listen to some words provided by our sponsor. Picture this: you're in the garage, your favorite room in the house, and you're tuning up your engine with parts that you found on eBay. Every piece is just locking perfectly into place. You step back to admire your work, hands covered in grease. And because you're committed to riding your bike farther than the odometer can even handle, you start thinking to yourself, you know what? I could also probably use some new brakes, maybe a shock. Well, this baby, it deserves a new air filter. So you head straight back to eBay. You can find any part you need there. It's unreal, from headlights to air filters to exhaust systems, all the way to those carbon fiber rims you've had in your mind. eBay is the stocked garage of your dream. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit, because eBay knows DIY fixes can be major and mods are always intense. So you need to know those parts are guaranteed to fit every time before you dive in wrench first. And on the off chance you order a part and it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. You know what you love more than your bike itself, and that is, of course, riding it. You're serious when it comes to engine maintenance and locked in when headed into a build. And that's exactly why you start with eBay. Minor fix or complete overhaul. You want to get your ride back in the road, and you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. So eBay created My Garage, where all you have to do is add your ride's info to get the exact parts that fit. When you see that green check, you're a click away from that part clicking perfectly into place. Well, now that you know this, just imagine standing at that open garage door, looking at the bike you love more than anything, knowing that anything is possible, whether it's keeping it on the road forever or turning it into something that humanity has never witnessed before. Because with eBay, your garage just got a whole lot bigger. Get all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Now back to my conversation with Christi Reynolds. The Lowdown Show is presented by advrider.com and supported by ebaymotors.com. It seems like most of these, I don't know, what do you call this? Not an Airbnb.
Hosting organizations.
Hosting organizations. Thank you.
Yes.
Hosting organization. It seems like most of them have some sort of a caveat. This one is motorcycles, or there's one for, as you said, tandem bicyclists, which is kind of bizarre. Sounds like a Coen, the basis for like a Coen Brothers film or something, the Tandem Bicyclist Association. But why do you think it's necessary, or is it necessary, that it be sort of subdivided into a specific interest?
So when we were traveling and we were staying with like educators through Educator Bed and Breakfast or Evergreen, and like I said, Evergreen, their whole thing is just you had to be over 50. And so when we would stay with them beforehand, we would say, okay, where before we get there, where do we park the bikes? And they would be like, well, in the driveway. And like a non-motorcyclist does not know how difficult it can be to park a fully loaded bike, on a downhill grade to the house or whatever. They don't realize what that's like. And then you would say, well, where's like a good road from here? Like, this is where we're going the next place, where's a good road? And they're like, well, I-95 is out there. So they don't really know. And so the great thing about staying with other motorcyclists, I mean, half the time we've probably had this happen at least a good third to half the time we stay with somebody, that they want to ride out with us the next day. They want to show us their favorite roads or whatever, or they always are like, well, where are you going and how are you getting there? And we've avoided some things that we didn't know, and, been able to see some places that we would not have seen if we hadn't stayed with these people.
So one of the prerequisites that you mentioned is you have to take advantage of this hosting, to be a guest. Yes. You need to host yourself.
Yes.
And do people try to game the system? I mean, I guess humans being what they are, we can be a little shifty at times, but is that something that you have to monitor, or is, for the most part, I mean, most motorcyclists, once we kind of get our head out of our ass and stop talking about politics and everything divisive, most motorcyclists are okay. Even people that you never see eye to eye with in any other circumstance. It seems like because of red, it's like I think of, I won't go there, but anyway, if I see someone, then I think, we'd never have anything in common, but they ride a bike, so they're not that bad. So is it sort of self-governing in a sense?
I think so. I mean, I don't know how they would game the system. Like, I'm not sure. Like, do you mean like
Well, I
use
mean,
it
they
to
could just,
travel, never
well, I mean,
host?
they could just not have a house and just every night at someone else's house. And you know what I mean? Like, is there a limit to how many you can do or anything like that? No,
No,
okay.
it's and so there's a couple of things with them not having a house. That's why uh we require their, you know, their address, and they have to pay, and they use a credit card. So we sort of have a way to be able to verify where
I
they
see.
are,
Now,
and
can you
also the photos.
can you sign up if you have an apartment, or does it have to be a house?
Yeah, yeah.
Apartment's fine.
Yeah, I mean, we've even had we had a woman in Sausalito who had a houseboat. Um, this was the first MTN. I don't think she's there anymore, but uh, and it was just like a one bedroom. And so, but we do say that you have to provide some element of privacy. The bed can't just be like the pull out in the living room. There has to be some element of privacy. It can be like in the office, or it can be in the basement, or like, you know, it can be someplace else, but you don't want it to where people are just like walking through or whatever. But what she did was she slept on the couch and she gave her bedroom to the guest, you know. And so, you know, it's because we asked for the photos, and we have had a few in this go round, um where like if the pictures look a little too perfect, you know, you just Google it and you just go and you can just see, and you're like, oh, that's a stock photo from something else or whatever. And so I've had a few of those, and then I just immediately write to them and I go, you know, hey, I'm so glad you're interested. We just need we just need 4 photos of your house, you know. And then I just like let them know I can tell that that's not their house. And so, um,
And then
but
you give them that tone, don't you? And then it's like, oh my God.
yeah,
It's like when mom gives you the tone.
yeah. And then they don't respond, you know, and so then they don't respond, and they know that they're not able to join. So, and we also Google Earth it to make sure that what that's also why we ask for a picture of the outside of the house. So then we just Google Earth it and see what the outside of the house looks like, and if that matches what they're showing us. So there are ways to sort of verify it, but honestly, I mean, that happens so rarely. Most of the people that join, we had about 1,000 members from the first iteration, but a lot of them are either not writing anymore or
Right.
are not around. And
Yeah.
so, because this was, you know, 20 years ago, and so, um, but but several of them have decided that they're not writing anymore, but they love hosting so much that they're like, we're happy to host. That's the other thing is there's no membership fee if you're just hosting. If you just like welcoming other motorcyclists and you're not going to use it to travel, then there's no membership fee. We're not going to charge you to open your home. So
That seems fair.
yeah, yeah. So you know, because we need hosts. And so we are like, okay, if you're willing to open your home, great. Um, Down the road, once we get a lot more people, a lot more hosts, we hope to be able to have um, like an associate member, which are those people that would love to be able to utilize it when they're traveling, but don't have the ability to host.
Right.
And at that point, then we'll have to like figure out how to like verify those people a little bit more. They'll have to pay more. They'll have to pay more to the host. The host can decide whether or not they want to host other non-hosting members, I guess you would
Right.
say.
Yeah.
But that's down the road, right? You know, right now we're just as we are. The members are also the hosts and also the travelers.
2 questions come to mind. The first one is, I can just imagine women hearing this and thinking, how safe is it for me? Because of course, it's a patriarchal world, regrettably. Wondering what sort of vetting process and how much can they trust the system, or do they just, as most women I know, just leave it to your own sensibilities to have an exchange with the host and base it on that? And the second question is how many how many people do you have currently signed up, and what sort of geographical range can I find places to stay in?
Okay. So it's interesting with the women. We actually have quite a few women members, and they kind of prefer to stay with the hosts when they can, because they actually feel it's safer than staying like in a motel or in a campground by themselves.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we do like our now, some of them aren't comfortable saying that they are hosting solo, so they will, on their application, they'll list their cat or their dog or their somebody else as their partner. So it appears that they are hosting with somebody else, so that it looks like it's a couple.
Yeah.
So they list that way. But when they're staying, they really do seem to kind of prefer to stay with like another couple, that they feel like that's a little bit safer for them. As far as our current membership, we don't have a ton right now. We only have about, like, we just rebooted, so we don't have a ton right now. That's the biggest thing is we have about 250. That's through Canada and the US. I mean, that's not a lot. That's spread out. And we have a whole bunch I would say probably 35 to 40% of our members are Canadian. We have a boatload in Canada.
We move among you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Canadians, and of course, mostly east of the Mississippi, and then out on the West Coast, the middle part of the country. There just aren't a lot of people there, so we don't have a lot of hosts there. And there are some states we don't have anybody in. We hope that this will continue to grow. When we first started it 20 years ago, the idea was so far out there, and of course, people were just like not familiar with it. It's now easier because of Airbnb and other things like that.
It's accepted.
Now,
yes.
yeah, now people they understand and they're more comfortable with it. When we first started it, our members were mad that we were only online, because they were like, well, I don't carry my laptop with me. And that was before smartphones,
Right.
and they're like, I don't carry my laptop with me. And they wanted us to have a printed directory. And I was like, no, trust me, this is going to be better. And then eventually technology caught up. So, I think that as we go, several of the members are former members, but then we've just gotten a whole bunch of new members. And
you are actively seeking new members.
Yes. Well, and this is the thing is we have, I don't even know. I probably have a couple thousand at this point, maybe 2,500 people who started their application. I probably have a good 150 or more where they've done, they've not just registered, but they have put in some of their information. I don't know why it's so difficult for people to upload their photos, but the photos, I mean, people don't have a picture of their bathroom on their phone usually. So it means they got to go take it, I guess. And they don't want to take it until they get it cleaned up, and then they just don't get around to it or whatever. So, it's so the photos are a bit of a problem, and that's also kind of what slows us down. So, right. We'll get there. We'll get there. I just have to, I keep on these people. I'm like, come on, you just text me your photos and I'll upload them for you, kind of
Fill
thing.
out the damn form, people. Come on. Because we have to do
Yeah.
it for everything else in life. Maybe that's the point.
Right.
It is kind of onerous, but
Right.
that's the thing. Now, here's a question I just thought of listening to this. What about number of people? This sounds, in my mind, I picture this for solo people or couples traveling. But what if there's 4 of you or 5 of you? And does that work in this case or not?
Yeah. So we have, like, the members will say how many they can host. And so some of them have 2 guest rooms, and they'll say we can take 4 or whatever. Um, it's but it gets a little, I don't say dicey, but all 4 of the people that are traveling all have to be members.
Of course.
That
Yeah. Yeah.
said, well,
Right.
but that said, I've had people ask, and I have said that can we hold on just a second?
Sure.
Okay. There's your stuff in there, okay? There's stuff in there for you. Okay. All right. Can you go get that? Okay. Sorry.
So let's start again. What were we talking about? Traveling in a group.
When there's 4 or 5 people.
Okay, so I have to start this again because of the interruption.
Okay.
So traveling with a group, take me through that process. Everyone has to be a member. Say if there's 4 of you, all 4 have to be a member. And of course, it has to be it limits where you can go, where you can stay, because I presume that not everybody can take 4. I know I couldn't at my house. So
right.
Yeah.
So if the member has space to take 4 people or however many, they then they can just say, yes, we can take you or whatever. And it shows when they're searching on there, they can see how many that the host can take. As far as being members, because of us getting kicked out, I'm never going to tell you who you can and cannot have in your home. And if you're comfortable with just 1 or 2 of the people being members and the others not, if you're comfortable with that, it's your house. You decide who you want, like whether you want to do that. Of course, we prefer that people all be members, but it's really up to the host because it's their home and they decide. The other thing too is that we do have on their the listing, there is a place where they can put camping space available, and some of our people are just wanting a place to pitch their tent, and they're fine with not staying in the house, but having access to the bathroom and whatever else. So if they say they can take 2 and they have camping available, and the other couple wants to stay outside or whatever, that's up to them.
The Lowdown Show is presented by advrider.com and supported by ebaymotors.com. But what about lead time? Because I know that one of my favorite ways of traveling is, especially now that technology completely controls our lives and our brains, is I used to love the spontaneity of just, it's a beautiful night. It's 5 o'clock. Normally you'd stop at a motel or a hotel, but you're feeling it. You're in the mountains and you want to go.
Right.
Now, do you specify so many hours in advance or 2 days in advance, or is there anything like that, or can it be last minute?
So the gentleman we have traveling right now, he's basically asking like the day before is what I'm seeing, because I see his request come through, and he's like, "Can I? I'm traveling. Can I stay tomorrow night?" And I don't know if it's because he's not certain his path or whatever. And so each member has on their listing, short notice is okay or short notice is not okay.
Right.
We don't define short notice though. It's what, like whatever. But if they say short notice is not okay, then assume that you can't just call up that day, or you can't request that day or whatever. But with that said, I've also told people like it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yes.
Even though if they say, short notice is not okay, ask them anyway. They may be like, oh, well, sure, that's fine. We're going to be here. So, but we do have that on there so that you can see whether or not they would have, they're okay with it.
So is there a section, because information is power, as we know, is there a section on your service where you can sort of put hobbies other than motorcycling? Do you get into the personal thing to try to give some information about it? So
Yes. So each person, they besides the 4 photos of the house, they do a profile photo, and then we have like I think it's like 150 or 170 character, description that we ask them to put in there.
Right.
And they can put in there about themselves or about the area or about their, what they have as far as like being able to host, whatever. We do have that in there. And some people write a ton and some people write the 170 characters, and that's all. So,
right.
But yes, we try to, like, we kind of want you to be able to know who you're staying with. The other reason that we do that is because for the member when they're traveling. So like if you got a request from me, then you can go look at my profile and get a sense of who I am before you decide whether or not you want to host. So you can see what I have to offer, but then also see a little bit about me and see my pictures so that you have an idea of whether or not you want to open your home to me.
And then you tell me that you have an old BMW and I think, you're one of those people.
That's what I've got. I'm so happy to still have it, actually.
My old junk's way worse. So I'm not divulging any of that information. I don't want to be judged. So because it's such a process to get people to sign up, as you said, there's a lot of half filled out forms. Take us through what is required. So people listening to this, cannot put it off and not think, oh God, it's another goddamn form to fill out. So take me through it.
It's really pretty simple. It's, you put in your basic information and a profile photo, a little bit about yourself. And then I think the next thing is whether you want to host or travel and host. And if you're just hosting, then it won't take you to the payment page. If you want to be able to travel with it, then it takes you to the payment page. You pay your $35, takes you back, and then you put in like the room, like, and what size the bed is or what type of bed it is, whether it's like a futon or a bunk bed or like a fold out couch or whatever. We want people to know what kind of bed, because some people are like, I can't sleep on a fold out, or whatever. So we want people to know what it is that you're offering. And then whether the bathroom is private or shared. It doesn't mean it's en suite. It doesn't mean the bathroom is within the thing, but whether or not you're sharing it with the host. So it's whether it's there's a separate bathroom for the guest or whether or not you're sharing it with the host. And then, so you put that in, and then there's a place to list like all of the amenities, like and people have things, like there's a lake or there's a swimming pool or there's a hot tub or there's a fire pit or there's, whatever, if there's covered parking, there's like camping available. I mean, we have like a whole bunch of different things. And then what we call the good to know, and that's whether or not you smoke, you don't smoke, the pets, whether or not last minute is okay, if children are okay. And some people are like, no, I don't want your kids here. Like, so those different things. And also, I can't remember, but I think we also have whether pets are welcome. I think we do. We do have, because some people they
take their pets in their sidecar?
Yeah.
There's those guys.
I'm not.
I would require.
No judgment here.
No, we can judge sidecar people. They're judged all the time. I think there should be a separate section for sidecar people, just to put a little bit more information, because.
Yeah, well, it's actually like they're like the smaller dogs, and they're with Goldwingers.
Are you comparing sidecar people to small dogs?
No, I'm
Did you just say
saying
that? Or did I just say
no,
that?
I'm saying that that they're traveling with smaller dogs.
Oh, the
Although,
traveling. Okay, I thought you were making the parallel between like Chihuahuas and people in sidecars.
no,
Well, no,
no, I'm
now that we've clarified, sidecar people are fine, and they're all going to come after
they're all
me.
fine. They're all fine.
They're
Everybody's
all
fine.
fine.
Everybody's fine.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
You're okay.
that's right. You travel how you want to travel. I mean, that's completely up to you. I'd take my dog if I could. I love my dog, but yeah, I'm one of those people. But I don't have a sidecar, and my dog doesn't want to go with me anyway. So,
Well, credit to the dog for not wanting to get, for not wanting to go traveling.
yeah.
They like to stay, and my cat won't go anywhere with me, which is the only thing that will keep me sane. I think that's everything. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I was trying to check. One of the other things that we do put on there is steps, whether or not you have steps, because some people, or whatever. Because here's the other thing that I forgot to mention is that you can use this whether you're on a motorcycle or not. Like once you're a member, it doesn't matter how you're traveling. So if you are if you're flying in someplace, I know we had some members as soon as they signed up and they saw somebody out in Colorado or someplace, they were like, "Hey, can we come stay with you in January so we can go skiing?" And it's like, it doesn't, what you have in common is that you're a motorcyclist, and that's probably what you're going to talk about, but you don't have to be. And then a lot of our older members, like I said, they don't use the motorcycle, but they've got their little, sports car that they are, traveling in or whatever. And all we say is, like, if you're not on a motorcycle, make sure you let your host know that, because if they think you're on a motorcycle, they're going to let you park in the garage. But if you're in a car, you can park out the driveway, so yeah. So, but you don't, like I've used it when, like, I've flown in someplace and stayed with people. It doesn't, we did the BMW rally out in Oregon several years ago, and we stayed with some of our members out there, but we didn't drive out there. And a lot of times when we are promoting MTN at a rally, I'm driving because I have all of the stuff for the booth, and so I can't go by motorcycle. And so if I can stay with a member, then I do. And it, like I said, it doesn't matter whether or not you're on a motorcycle. You can use this at any point.
How did you come up with the $20 fee? Because there was a point. You and I are of an age when you can remember you can actually buy things for $20. Of course, now, in fact, I was out for dinner last night and I had a Negroni at my favorite bar, and it was $18.
Right? I know. I know.
So I mean, 20 to me sounds awfully, especially the breakfast thing. Now, there's two questions. First of all, 20 sounds too cheap to me. So I'm going to ask you about that. And secondly, I wouldn't mind somebody staying here, but I really don't. I write in the mornings, and I really don't want to make you breakfast. I can steer you to the toaster. Is that an option?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like if you're going to be up and going early, I will sit stuff out for you and, set the coffee pot to get, to go on its own. I'm not.
Right.
Yeah. And like we say, breakfast is defined by the host. The $20, it is just a gratuity. And honestly, some of our members they're like, I don't want your $20. Or they'll take it the first time, but then, like, when you're on your way back and you stay with them, they're like, well, now we're friends. I'm not going to take your $20. So the $20 is just to offset breakfast and then cleaning up after you.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. And so and like I said, some of our members, they donate it, or they, whatever, they just, they don't want it. But I usually do accept it because, like I said, I fix a big breakfast. I definitely spend $20 on breakfast, to provide breakfast. But that's up to the host, but the member always offers it.
To learn more about the Motorcycle Travel Network, visit motorcycle-travel.net. That's motorcycle-travel.net. In closing words provided by our sponsor. Picture this, you're halfway through a DIY motorcycle fix, tools scattered everywhere, and boom, you realize you're missing a part. Well, that's okay, because whatever it is, it's on eBay. They've got everything: brake rotors, lights, and tire exhaust systems, whatever you need. And it's guaranteed to fit, which means no more crossing your fingers and hoping you ordered the right thing. All the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Thank you for listening to The Lowdown Show.